My name's JoeyB. I do blind knowledge. You've probably seen me, and you probably like, why is this guy back on my stream? Well, there's a reason for it. It's because I brought my friend with me. His name's Radell. He's the host of the Purple Political Breakdown. And if you haven't heard about this podcast, you probably will within the next 6 months. I'm telling you right now. It really should be on the top of Rumble's stream. It's definitely going to be on top of our Roku stream. And if you go to blindknowledge.com, you're going to see that it's actually a headliner that says Purple Political Breakdown. Purple Political Breakdown. And there's a reason for that, because it's damn good. And the man represents himself. Radell, how are you today?
I'm doing good. Appreciate obviously the kind words, and the podcast that we do over here, Purple Political Breakdown. It has a mission that it wants to accomplish and reach out to people. At the end of the day, when it comes to discourse, politically, socially, culturally, there should be a way to communicate and find solutions without all that tension and political bias. And that's what we do over here, of course. Talk with a lot of different people, come up with a lot of different solutions.
Dude, I feel that's so hard. I literally do, because it's so difficult, or it has been, at least since COVID time, to have a conversation where two sides may not agree. Actually, they probably don't agree, and for it to not get overly out of hand, to still be able to have a beer with the dude after you have the argument or conversation. There's been a lot of that kind of conversation, unfortunately, and it's cool that you bring that out. We do that at Blind Knowledge. We do multiple perspectives. I'm big on that, because there can be 8 perspectives on something, and maybe we got to hear the 9th one too. It shouldn't just be black or white. It shouldn't be red or blue. It shouldn't be left or right. It shouldn't be right or wrong. It should be whatever it's going to be, whatever your perspective is. And I really believe in that. Radell, you guys do that great on your podcast. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to get a little funky. We're basically going to break down Radell. We have 15 questions, and we're going to see what the man says. And I'm really curious about his opinion, and I'm curious about yours too. So check out the chat. If you got questions, we got answers for you. And if you want to text in, it's 877-237-1143. Radell, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. If I had a drum, I would roll it. Check this out. What is the next great invention in society?
What is the great next invention? Very interesting question, for sure. I mean, more than likely, it will have something to do with the internet and the ability to kind of advance that space, of course. Now, we know that people are working on, virtual reality. Stuff like AI is getting great. Obviously, we got Facebook trying to create Meta. And they attempted with it, and it never really took off. But more than likely, once it becomes a more solidified, destination and more optimized to the point where you can really kind of represent yourself on this virtual world, once that happens, it's going to be the changing of humanity, just like how the internet and social media was. The expectation that people want to kind of regress back to a way of life that was before the internet is unrealistic. Progression is the thing that makes humanity so great, and that's what's going to keep on pushing humanity forward. And that ability, not only to communicate with other people, but to kind of represent yourself in a space, both mind and body, in a way to others across the world, is going to just bring people closer together. It's going to have its issues, of course, just like social media does. But once that is finally kind of set in a more commonly used platform across the world, that is going to change human race for the better as a whole. But there's going to be a lot of problems we're going to have to address once it comes here as well, of course.
That's wicked cool. That was a really good answer too. And it was, I think it's right on point, because you're right. We have AI right now. We have Web3. We have this blockchain. We have we have this new age CPR. I just did an interview with Dr. Yaff, who is basically working with the FDA, where if CPR doesn't work, they're taking frozen saline, injecting that into a person to put their heart rate at a minimum. To stave off death until they can get them to the hospital. Little things like that are huge. You know, we have cancer research. We have so much research into vitamins and minerals and cannabis. And you just never know. You never know. That was a great answer. And I am really impressed. And y'all, if you're impressed, put it in the chat, let us know. And if you have any questions for Radell or myself, let me know. Question number dose, dude. We have problems in society right now. Name one that really should be solved at this point in 2023 for humans.
The solution that should be solved right now. Well, there are so many as of right now.
There are quite a few.
And things that we have to kind of better help people. It's really hard to say which one should be no problem whatsoever.
There's so many.
I guess the thing that I feel like shouldn't be a problem right now, and the reason why it's a problem is not due to the lack of, but more so due to the systems to be, or the systems at hand, and that's world hunger, or at the
World hunger.
Hunger in America, right? There's really no excuse for anybody to be starving in Western society.
Agreed.
I mean, people have done the statistics regarding hunger, and it's people kind of put out a number out there in terms of somewhat billion, and that amount of money can be solved with just like one billionaire, to be honest. And
no, it's a system-wide thing. I really think that. Right?
I agree. It is definitely a system-wide thing. And, we in America, at the very least, we're to the point where we're giving out food, and you may deem it unhealthy with certain like fast foods and, mass-produced foods, of course. But we have more of an obesity problem than a hunger problem. So there's really no reason we should have a hunger problem at all. Right? So that's never really made sense to me. Now, I have learned that when you give certain foods to like third world countries and stuff like that, the reason why that's problematic is because they can't create a system for themselves to create that food. I get that. That's a little bit more complicated, of course.
And their bodies sometimes can't handle it unless they're used to it. I mean, if you give someone I'm sure if you give someone a double cheeseburger over in a third world nation, I'm sure they're going to have a stomach ache.
Yeah, I could definitely see that to an extent as well. Most of all, even if you want to say, okay, it's not that simple for these third world or developed countries. In America, in Western culture, there's really no excuse for anybody to go hungry.
No excuse. And there's no excuse for us, for our neighbors to have to go hungry. That should all be taken care of. There should be food and water. I mean, that's in the simplest terms, and sanitation.
Right. So yeah, biggest thing in this, biggest issue at the very least in America.
So you're saying world hunger and food. Gotcha. That's a huge one. That's a huge one. I'm going to jump in if you don't mind, because I don't want to just be like, Radell, you have to answer all these questions. But maybe I can give just a little bit of input on myself. Like, I always thought that healthcare should be something that everyone should have, even if you call it social health care, mental health, the ability to see a therapist or to put yourself in patients instead of being on the street, the ability to go check your ankle if it's busted and not have to worry about a $250 deductible pay. There's so much money that goes into big insurance, goes into the government, comes back out to the insurance companies through lobbyists and through just the control that they have. And I know this because I did work at a large insurance company for a long while. There's a lot of control there, and I really think that everyone should be able to go see a doctor and not have to pay for it. I really do. There's no reason why we can't do that for ourselves and our neighbors. All right, moving on. That's gonna get me some hate mail, I'm sure, from someone at an insurance company, but I don't care. Check it.
Healthcare is definitely a very tough subject, of course. I will say that I do think
That's how it
our
used to be,
healthcare system
Radell.
could be more efficient.
That's how it used to be. When we
Um,
were kids, man, we went to the doctor as pediatricians, no copay, no problem. Everything was paid for, and don't have to worry about paperwork. And all of it's all become bureaucratic bullshit.
it's definitely a very complicated situation. At the very least, the way we're doing it now, I do think like we do have like the best surgeons in the world due to how our system
We
works.
definitely
But at
do.
the same time, the expectation that people can't just get a normal checkup without getting $1,000 check is ridiculous. So the way our system is now, the process is very unfortunate for the people that are in more unfortunate situations, not people who are like straight out poor because we got certain Medicaid, Medicare programs for them,
Yeah,
but there's
yeah.
a certain threshold of individuals who make enough money not to qualify for those programs, but doesn't make enough money for them to kind of survive a crazy hospital bill,
Right.
right? So
Right.
we got to
Yeah. And what's insurance for? It's for that big emergency that happens. Isn't that like the definition of getting insurance? Is if just in case something bad happens, and then all of a sudden you get that big hospital bill because you're inpatient for 5 days, and that's like over 250 grand, and you have a high deductible pay, and like you're paying like 10 grand, and that's crazy. That's crazy. And then there's so many write-offs. It's this, that, and the other thing. I don't understand it. I was in it for 7 years. I will never go back to it. I'll tell you that. Fuck all that. Excuse my language, mom. But it blows my mind that that's something in society that we all just don't have. They have that in the UK and Canada. Why can't we have it here? So
Yeah, I will say, at the end of the day, my personal opinion in terms of healthcare that we should definitely, at the very least, implement to kind of mediate these problems is I think they talked about in the Republican debate panel, and I've heard before is kind of make things a little bit more open for the public to see
that'd be
how
great.
these negotiations are made from the hospital to the insurance companies to the doctor. How are these prices made? How are these costs made? There's that secrecy, that inability to see how these prices are negotiated and the bill is kind of formulated is probably a big problem for these situations. So I think that could definitely kind of shed light on these circumstances a little bit
That's a
more.
great point, and transparency is always good for sure. I know a little bit about that, where contracts are negotiated by physicians groups and then the hospital, because there's two different payments there, and then each line item of every single service that they bill for is negotiated for and is set at a price. And it gets very complicated, and it's giving me a headache. So we're gonna move on. If that's cool with you, my man. And by the way, Radell, where the hell are you right now? You're in the U.S., right?
Yes, I'm in the U.S. in the great state of Ohio, that as some people say.
Ohio. Okay. You ever been to Ohio State football game?
I have not.
Do you have any inkling to do that ever? No.
Not really, but if my
It's not weird, no, guys.
want to go, then yeah, we can.
That's fair. Maybe we'll make it a blind knowledge thing, because I would go. I'd come hang out. Y'all, 877-237-1143. I'm JoeyB. That's Radell. He does Purple Political Breakdown. I do a lot of other things, like the Blind Knowledge podcast. If you check out the pod right now, you get my old school George Clinton interview. Just saying. All right, we're moving on with the questions. Should everyone have access to Narcan? That's a stupid question. Obviously, everyone should. I'm just going to move on from that one. That's something I've believed in for a long time, is that at least with some of the social scenes I've been around, I always wanted Narcan in my medicine cabinet. Because you never know, especially with the fentanyl thing. That shit could be in sugar. You just never know. Narcan saves lives, dude. Anyway, did you have anything on that, or should I move on?
I don't really know much about Narcan, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm not even sure what it is, but it sounds like a drug from what you're
Oh,
saying.
you don't know what it is? My
No,
bad.
I've never.
Narcan is the antidote for an overdose of any kind of an opioid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it sold commercially?
It's not sold commercially. It's a pharmaceutical right now.
Okay. I mean, in a situation, I can see why this would be beneficial, especially in like certain communities where opioid epidemics are more
Dude, it's
commonplace.
beneficial in the suburbs where someone may be OD'd in the back seat. Just saying.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're kind of around that environment, there's really no reason why you shouldn't have it. I would have to kind of look into the pros and cons of use if you're not on these opioid situations to see why it wouldn't be a commercial use product. But yeah, especially with this fentanyl situations, having access to stuff like that would be beneficial for society,
Yeah,
of course.
totally, right? Yeah, it's kind of a dumb question. Like I told you, we're two different dudes or two different backgrounds, and in some of my background, Narcan was definitely needed. Not from me, thank the Lord, but it was used, and fucking, I'm glad we had it. I come from a medical family where we need to have medicine, basically. Yeah, and that stuff saves lives, so everyone should really have some of that. All right, let's switch it up because this is important. This is gonna blow your mind, Radell. And you might sign off on me. Everyone on this live stream might sign off on me with this question. Should a person be allowed to kill themselves under supervision without intervention?
This is definitely one of those deeper questions, kind of like assisted suicide. Um, and I think we've had this conversation before in my podcast as like a deeper segment, a little bit more philosophical than anything else. And overall, I mean, after the conversation, one thing that we agreed upon is that the government, the entity that is the government, their purpose should be for the people. Their purpose should be for the, prosper of the people. And although some people may argue that assisted suicide may be in the best interest of certain people, I think in general, when you're having the conversation, I don't think you can make that argument that helping someone take their own life is in the betterment of their own life, right? Because at the end
Hmm,
of the day, their life will be ended. So
it's true.
the aspects of someone killing themselves and the legality behind that is a question. But the aspect of the government helping in this system is a different one. And there should never be a situation where the government takes an active role in ending
I
someone's
agree
life.
wholeheartedly with that statement. Absolutely. Yeah. Um, Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't even want to get into it because I'm not sure where I stand on it. To be quite honest, it came up because I have a laundry list of things, and euthanasia was one of them. And you hit on that right away. It's something that actually came up in a class that I took a while ago. Just a morality class, and it's basically like the euthanasia topic came up in the class, and it's like, should if someone's really that sick, should physician assisted suicide be an option? And if it is that okay? And by okay, like, is that all right, morally justified on a spiritual plane, versus just all the minutia? And I still don't know. I honestly don't know. I want nothing to do with it. I think we should all live. I like living. I'm glad I'm alive today. And Radell, I'm glad you're alive today too, buddy. Because you could have a bad disease. You could be in a lot of pain 100% of the time and want that option and choice. And I could only imagine how difficult and painstaking that would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these people, when people kind of look at these situations, they definitely need to see the aspect, take a step back, not look at the personal individual that is, suffering or going through this situation, but look at the precedent it may set if a system or a culture that is allowing this type of situation. Because as you said, if we allow something like that to take place, one, we need to have the ability, and you won't always have this ability more often than not, to make sure that the government is not acting in a malicious way to kind of do something malicious in terms of the self-assisted suicide, right? Because there's a lot of details regarding that. You're not going to know that regardless how good social media is. And two, there can't be a easy out for these individuals who get superly depressed to the point where it's like, okay, the system, the culture is said I can kill myself whenever I want. So instead of it being kind of frowned upon for people to do such things, to kind of give up on life, having it okayed in society doesn't allow people to kind of fight through they're going on.
Right?
Um,
Yeah.
you may think that's bad for you, of course, but human society, the human race can't prosper if people want to kill themselves,
Yeah,
obviously.
that would be that would be terrible, first of all. And I think of it outside of the government. I think of it more as from a doctor and a nurse, or two doctors that are there in that room. Um, and it's painstaking because it's like I hope to God, heaven above, that I never really have to go through that, or have to worry about that. But it's always something that was always in the back of my head when I took that class, because Radell, there are questions that I have on this piece of paper. There are questions that we face every single day in society, and it's we. I don't know about you, but I don't have all the answers. I don't even want to take a side sometimes because I'm not sure which one's right. And that's why we focus on information, freedom of information, knowledge, and we have a good time doing it because, like I said, it's good to be alive today. And if you ever been down if you ever been down, or if you are down, feel free to reach out. Feel free to reach out in the chat. Hit me up at info@blindknowledge.com. Join up with us over here. Put some positivity in your life. It gets better. It gets better, I'll say that much. If you know anything about me, you know that I've been through some shit. So it gets better. I'm just trying to help you. And, just try to smile a bit. Even fake it till you make it. I had to do that. But anyway, I digress. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about now. I'm having a therapy session by myself, Radell. All right, next on the list. The news cycles. Every news cycle seems to be in American media is 2 months, it seems, and all of our media companies are basically run and owned by a handful of companies. You have Sinclair, you have Cox Media, you have this, that, and the other that I can't think of, that I should have a list of, where you listen to or you watch local news on one channel, and they're saying the exact same thing on the other channel at the same time on the other channel, and it's the same 5 stories that it's like, where's the 6th one? Like, who's covering the news? So my question to you, do you feel that our news cycles are kind of controlled, and that there is a control and manipulation of mass media in the United States, in the world?
For me, I mean, obviously we've seen those clips where like the number of news anchors saying the exact same thing, of course. So, there's a level of like influence that certain government officials may have based off the story, and very, 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 very,
Oh,
very rich
dude, my
people may
friend, I
have.
think it comes down to big business, big ICOs, a lot of shaking hands, more than just the government, don't you think?
Yeah, obviously, these are very rich people are going to have a hand in it as well. So to
True.
say otherwise will be a little bit
That's a good way
ignorant.
to say
I
it.
will say that
That's the
I'm
truth.
not like completely blackpilled in these situations where I immediately go like, "Oh yeah, everybody's trying to brainwash us." I think
No.
a lot of these situations, especially the media, of course, and we see social media is a perfect example of this, is that it plays to the audience, right? There's exact stories that will immediately appeal to people because they will kind of appeal to maybe something negative. When it comes down to stuff regarding maybe race or trans issues, that's immediately going to get headlines, immediately going to get clicks, retweets, all that stuff.
Mm.
So they know exactly the stories that's going to appeal to the people. A story about, hey man, this firefighter saved this person. People just don't care. Is it bad? Of course, but people don't care if it's not kind of game
That's an
changing. It's
amazing
not
story,
breaking their
though.
reality.
That's good. That's a good thing. It's good to hear good news.
Oh, I agree. I think those stories do happen, but the reason why you don't hear them enough is because people don't care, and that's just the reality of the situation.
Do people not
So if
care, or do
people,
people just kind of jump at hate and negative stuff, including myself? Are we like addicted, like to that, or is there something that we get off on with negativity? What is the deal with us? Why are we? Why are we seeing the same 5 news articles all day long? I don't get it.
I wouldn't say people love to kind of appeal to hate.
I hope
We've
not.
had this
God, I hope not.
conversation before on a different panel and in a different topic in terms of like why people kind of jump at like certain negativity. And my answer, my like answer to the question for the most part was that it's more so that when it comes down to human beings, if something is going well and going to status quo, there's no need for intervention. When something goes wrong, something looks bad, people want immediate fixes. They want immediate changes at
That's
that
a great
situation.
point. Yeah.
So even though it's irrational based off their reaction and based off the attention they're giving, I mean, a lot of people in these situations are emotionally triggered immediately and want to respond in kind based off what is going on. Regardless of that, even though they may or may not know that they're giving bad publicity, the attention that shouldn't get attention to these things, regardless, they want to react to fix the thing that is going to
That
happen.
makes sense.
So
We
I think it's
identify the shitty thing, and we want to fix the shitty thing.
exactly, exactly. So that is what I believe is happens in a lot of these situations. The problem is the attention people are giving it is not fixing it, and the way they try to fix it is terrible.
Yes,
So
well said.
that
Yeah, I agree.
that is the biggest problem. I do believe people have good intentions,
Hmm.
and once you break down the conversations with
You know,
people, of
that's
course,
something I've learned about people in the last like 5 years. Just like socially, I've been more social than I was when I was younger. Is people are normal. People are good. People are cool. You know, it's not everything. Not everything is what you hear and read and see on the TV.
exactly, exactly. My last guest that came on my podcast, she said something that I agreed with, and she said like, if you imagine you had a kid and they're in like a burning car, what do you think this person will pull them out? And I would say like 98% of people would. They would
Absolutely,
they pull that person out. So
absolutely, dude. I'd pull that person out if I could. I really would. I would, if I had the opportunity, I would help out. A mother would do anything for her child, it seems. I'm not a mother, so I can't speak to it. But I have seen mothers, at least my own mother, go into a mode that I would never, ever want to see again. I've seen my ex do it, mom mode, where they have control of the little bear. And they make sure that bear is loved, hugged, and safe at all times. Um, so anyway,
yeah,
yeah, that's what I've seen, though. All right,
yeah.
that's interesting that you hit on these subjects and topics in other panels too. I find that
I
I
hit
find that good.
hit things that kind of cross reference to an extent.
Well, it's cool. I'm glad
They're
I'm not
all
the only
somewhat
one.
related.
Sorry, go ahead, Radell.
No, you're fine. I mean, a lot of these topics are, for the most part, different when you kind of break down the technicalities, but
Sure.
the sentiment, the premise tends to be very similar. Human nature is really, I mean, it's complicated, so I'm not gonna act like it's not complicated. I think you have to have a certain ability to analyze certain things to really understand because you got to take yourself out of who you are to understand these
Great
things.
point.
But you can kind of see patterns in terms of human nature if you look hard enough. Now you can kind of cross reference how they act in situations that are very
Kind
similar.
of can predict how things are going to go. But you can't always predict the weather, Adele. That's what I've learned. On to the next one. And now I'm using the same music. I'm getting tired, buddy. I'm getting old and tired, but that's all right. Next on the list. All right, I'm just fucking around. But what makes someone a good person, in your opinion? You always hear that, like, be good, good people. Like, for you, like, what? How would you describe a good person?
Yeah, moral questions are always extremely.
I get very moral. Yeah, that's from my background. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Obviously we know morality to an extent is subjective. I've had
Sure.
pretty deep conversations about it in general. I think there's certain aspects of morality that isn't. I have a whole theory of where I think morality comes from.
I mean, it's based off of what
But
it's based off of, but yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, whatever you think, I have my own theory, of course. So when it comes down to morals, and when it comes down to being a good person, for me, I mean, I think the immediate indicator that someone is a good person really kind of sheds like how much they care, um, how much they're willing to engage in terms of listening or being an active participant in that person's
How much
life.
they give a shit,
Um,
basically, on the give a shit meter. If they hit a 5 on the give a shit
exactly,
meter, they're a good person, basically. That's
exactly, and
that's
all
pretty
the
profound. I dig it, though.
yeah,
I dig it. I dig it, man. Yeah, go ahead.
how much they care, how much they are active part even in your life, listen,
Hell
care.
yeah, man.
Like Joey said, give a shit, of course. And that is a good indicator for me if this person's a good person. At the very least, a good person to you as an individual, right? So um people usually kind of waver around this kind of moral gray area based off, external
Very gray
circumstances,
area.
which
Sure.
obviously,
Yeah.
yeah, and the situation at hand. So in order for you as an individual to find someone good for you, you can't be blinded based off a kind of superficial things. It really depends on how the person treats you as an individual for you to determine if they're good to you at the very least. So kindness, how much they care is like two big things for me.
Well said, well put. I think a good person is just that. It's a good person. It's something we can't really describe, but we know it and we don't know it. If we know if it's a scumbag, we stay away from that person. I don't know about you. I'm guessing you are. I'm a quick read. I go off of the vibe and my first instincts always. Someone in my family recently told me, and shout out to Kay. She's in hospice right now. That's my great aunt. Hope she hears this. She told me the other day, she said, Joe, trust yourself and God. That's it in this world. And I still keep thinking about that. I'm like, whoa, because it's self-reliance, and it's once you find yourself, then you find others that are like you or maybe not like you, and you can self-identify, and then you can identify what's around you. And if you want to be an isolated dude, be an isolated dude. If you want to have 50 friends, have 50 friends, but hopefully there's some good people around you. Because there's some scumbags, some scam artists, and some ex-girlfriends of mine that'll break your heart. So just be careful out there, folks. That's all I'm trying to say. All right.
Uh,
I can give you her address, Radell, if you'd like. No, I'm just kidding. No. But anyway, all right. We're getting to the end of the line here. And I appreciate it, dude. You're a good sport. I think a lot of people are going to have a lot of respect for you and what you do over at the Purple Political Breakdown. We're going to be showcasing this podcast on Roku in 3 weeks. It's going to be up the top. I love what you do. And let's just keep getting,
Appreciate
yeah,
it.
man. I'm not bullshitting. Let's just keep making it better. And if there's anything I can do, if there's anything Tony can do, or anybody in Blind Knowledge, just let us know. And folks that are listening from Blind Knowledge, the same goes for us all. We should all be working together in the collective. All right, we got two more, and I am starving, so I'm gonna see if we can speed this up just a tad. Oh, this one. This is actually the last question, Radell.
All right.
This one is gonna get a little interesting, I think. But I'm on the side of yes. Reparations in California. Reparations in California looking at $250,000 paid back to African American families, to each African American family. That was brought up in their legislator. What do you think about that? How do you think it would work? Do you think it would ever work? And obviously, what's your deal with that?
For me, when it comes to reparations from this specific circumstance, I think there's two ways you have to approach the conversation. First, if there's a very, very evil thing that happens to the people, and obviously
Like
the
genocide.
government,
Just
society,
saying.
right? So the government, society does something, and they want to kind of make up for it. Obviously, reparations should be implemented, but it should be implemented immediately after.
Immediately after.
It
Yeah,
should
yeah.
really help the people that have been affected. The idea is not to help the people generations down the line. And that follows up to my second point. Reparations now for people from, affected back in slavery is dumb. Honestly, it is dumb. I will say that when it comes to reparations for people that you can immediately trace back to slavery, um, I would be more in favor, especially from that. I forgot what it's called. There was a certain pledge to an extent. It's never been proven if the government said this, but like there's certain a pledge to like slaves about giving them land. So if you can kind of confirm that and obviously find people directly involved from slavery, then yes, they would definitely deserve
It's gonna be
reparations.
tough.
But generations down the line from slavery do not deserve reparations.
That's
It
interesting.
is at this point, it doesn't make sense. There's obviously we can kind of relate certain things back to systematic racism, and that's a conversation, of course, on how to better fix these communities that are affected from that. But the answer is not reparations because a lot of these communities, whether you agree with me or not, of course, we can have a conversation. A lot of these communities, if you just pour money into them, won't make these communities better. You know this. So
Okay.
what it, what is going to happen is you're going to give people money. They're not going to have the capacity to know how to deal or utilize the resources at hand, and it's go to waste. Like how many times do we see, very poor people get a lottery ticket, get millions of dollars, and blow it
Blow it
immediately?
immediately. Yeah, we see that all the time. Yeah.
Right. So you're just kind of pouring that same money that's been given to you back into the system at hand. So what obviously we need to do is change this the locales, the communities themselves from the inside out.
So you put money into
That
the community, you're saying?
that is something I'm much more in favor
That's
for, putting
interesting.
money into the community. Obviously creating better maybe community security based off that. Necessarily like the a bunch of police kind of roaming all the time because there's some arguments whether or not that's good. There's the rotation of police that are going in these communities obviously need to be better. Different
Yep.
conversation, but obviously schools, resources such as like
Schools.
clinics, of course, public transport, make sure that's a little bit better for people to get to A to B without any threat of
Yeah.
harm. So there's a lot of tools that there's a lot of things that the state can do for the communities to better that. And once you do that, then you can obviously address another point, which is a more cultural and social point of fixing the dynamics of people in these locales to prevent things such as broken homes and prevent things such as gang violence. Again, very tough situation to deal with, of course, but just giving these people money is not the solution.
Interesting take, Radell. Interesting take. I look at it as like, if you go way back in history, I mean, hold on. First of all, 250K is a nice piece of coin. I just want to say that. So I find your stance to be very strong, and I'm actually not shocked, but it's a tough one for me to take. If you go back in history, I mean, you have the Japanese encampment. If you go back to the Nazis killed 6 million Jews. If you go back even further than that, there was slavery and this, that, and the other culture. I would never speak on behalf of any other culture, only of mine, which happens to be Irish-Polish. I just thought it was an interesting scenario. And I grew up in a melting pot back up in Massachusetts. I've had friends that are all ethnicities. One of my best friends is Haitian. So I'd actually love to get Jay's take. Jay, if you're listening, good luck. Jay's recovering right now. My buddies Jay and D over in Orlando. Go TV, that's them, Jay and D. Nevertheless, I'd love to get him on here and actually ask him that question too. And I'd love to get that question asked to 5 other people, because I bet you we would get 5 other responses. And I mean, shit, imagine if that did happen. Like, how the hell does that even happen? How do you even backtrack and see who gets what, who deserves, quote unquote, deserves what? Do you just cut checks? Is it direct deposit? There's a lot of different scenarios to that, but I respect your stance and your take to give it back into the community. At least it's going somewhere positive. Right. All right. Well, I'm taking the suit off. No, I'm just kidding. Right, I'd have to stand up. But we are done with the questions. Radell, you made it through the dungeon zone. That I'll never use that terminology ever again. What did you think?
Yeah, I think a lot of these are good questions, of course.
We get deep, buddy.
Yeah, and I have these conversations often. I tend to, appreciate giving my perspective on things. They tend to be a little bit more nuanced than the general person may hear or have heard before, of course. And that's fine if you agree or you disagree. I mean, that's fine as well. I don't say things to necessarily try to prove that I'm over someone else. I think at the end of the day, the things that I say is trying to push kind of things forward. People are going to get triggered, like, oh, how dare you say, we don't give the reparations, slavery, blah, blah, blah. Of course, as a black person, of course, I want free money.
That's such a it's a stereotype, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and the innate selfish greed to kind of want money is there, and I mean, I get it.
Or is it human? I don't know.
But at the same time, when you take a step back and you kind of look at what the community needs, the community doesn't need individual people, especially very select individual people, to get all this money, especially when we know that it's not making the community better, it's helping someone's pockets, and 2,
sure,
we are already having a lot of issues with inflation, with the national debt. This is not bettering that, of course. So you're not helping the community, and you're not helping in terms of prices going up or down. California already has crazy taxes that it is.
Yeah, so I can't live there right now. No one can that I know. Most people are leaving California right now because of the crazy taxes and the cost of everything and just the madness over there.
Yeah, California has a lot of problems themselves with their homeless problem, of course. With
their homeless problem is ridiculous, dude. I wouldn't want to walk on those streets, bro. No way.
Yeah, so if you want to help the community, but you gotta realize there's pros and cons to doing this type of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
you take a very community and social stance, and I really respect that. Dude, you should definitely run for selectman or something like that. I could see that happening. Let me ask you this, dude. And I respect you coming on. And if we have differing opinions, we have differing opinions. That's what this is. That's life. And what we have is a platform and a voice, which I think is pretty strong. Do you ever really get into it, with your your co-hosts that come on. I know you kind of have some reoccurring guests that come on. Like, have you ever just kind of lost it and just been like, you asshole? It's a half joking question, but I'm just curious.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, so when it comes to my show, at the very least, I've never went crazy. Obviously,
Well, that's
got
good.
into heated-ish debates. Like, I wouldn't go like it got off the walls, but tensions riled to an extent because it's an important conversation. So that
Yeah.
definitely happened. I mean, I and my co-host, a Republican, Democrat, I have other people come on the show that have wildly different opinions, whether they want to talk about the deep state or
Oh,
want the black
dude.
community. And those conversations
Yeah.
tend to get a bit more heated than other ones because we got different opinions, but we want to move towards the same goal. And I make that very clear.
But y'all got
And
respect, you know?
exactly. The conversation stays smooth. And just because it gets a little tensions rise, which is not a bad thing, doesn't make it
No.
a lost
That's a good
cause.
thing sometimes.
Yeah, it doesn't make it a negative, tense confrontation. There's nothing wrong with it. I
The
mean, the only
healthiest
time,
thing to do, Radell, is to talk about it, is to have that argument, discussion, conversation. Write it down, get it out of you. I think it's a healthy thing to have that discussion, because once it's over and done with and you've sweat those beads away, it's all good, It's all good. It's not, no one's taking anybody out over this. It's just A, B, C, and D, baby. We're just all living together under the same tree. That's all.
exactly. These conversations are important. And like if people I'm not perfect by any means. I don't even try to be honest, because like there are other situations when it's not me on my podcast trying to come up with a solution that helps society as a whole. But of course, when I'm talking about sports or maybe anime, those stuff get heated all the time. We're like, hey man, we're talk, we're yelling at each other. But
Hell
those are
yeah.
more for fun. Like
That's
at the
fun
end of the
stuff.
day,
Yep.
even in those situations, you don't want to go crazy to the point where you're calling someone out their name because that's ridiculous.
Yeah, you don't want to bury someone, right? And the conversations, I'm sorry, the conversation points, I should say, and the list of topics we hit on tonight. These are no joke. These are real. These are real talk, real man talk, real adult talk. But yeah, man, we can just coast. I can tell you how much the New England Patriots are just the best best football team ever, and I can have 99 other people fucking hate my guts, and that's cool with me. That's cool with me. It's it is what it is. But I can also be like, the Rays are cool or the Yankees are cool, but I would never say those things because I'm a Red Sox fan. In Ohio, so that would be St. Louis? No. Who are you rooting for in football these days?
My team is the New York Giants.
Oh, you're a fucking Giants fan? Oh, Radell. Yo. I'm gonna find some more music because I got nothing to say. Don't tell me you're an Eli Manning guy.
Yeah, the Hall.
Oh no. I'm just playing, man. You guys kicked our ass twice. Well done.
Man, don't worry.
I'm just going to break in with a little music. I'm just going to switch the vibe up real quick. We're over at blindknowledge.com. That's Radell right there. I'm JoeyB. We put suits on for you guys tonight. If you got any questions, concerns, or some overlay, throw it into the chat. Hit us up at 339-237-1143. We accept smoke signals, postcards, and I do take tips. Anyway, we had a lot of fun tonight. We're going to see what this format does. We're doing a little bit of experimentation. If you don't know Radell, you got to check him out. Again, blindknowledge.com. He's doing some good things over on... dude, you're on Rumble. You're on YouTube. You're over on Planet X Network. Is that true?
Yeah.
So you guys are in demand. Which if you have the hookup with whoever's running that thing, I would love to talk to them. I'm always looking to collab and see what's good out there. And I do like they have the Roku app, which we will have in 3 weeks. And who knows? Long term for Blind Knowledge, we're looking to tighten up, do production better. get our video on point, maybe add some music and publishing stuff because that's what I love. And, hopefully make a couple bucks, maybe $250,000. That'd be fucking crazy.
Agreed.
Yeah, but I'll just take $250 and get, into gas at this point. Shit. But you know what, Radell? I think we do this because we love something about it. I'm really sold on that. I don't think you go live in front of people to embarrass yourself, to put yourself on a pedestal, or to do anything other than what it is that you like to do. It takes balls, it takes guts, and I appreciate you stepping up with me because I can be a lot. And my friend, you are a high IQ individual. If you could ask me anything, what would it be?
Good question. I would say, okay, in terms of society, how well do you think a third party would change politics?
I think having a third party would be one of the best things to ever happen to our politics. The two-party politics that we have going, it's like playing Pong. You can just argue points back and forth, and you can basically change your viewpoints every 6 months if you want to, and just change sides, and just jump to this side and then that side. If we have a real libertarian party, a real green party, a real pirate party, you could have the pirate parties of Pennsylvania. That'd be fine. But, have that third party legit with the same kind of commercials, the same amount of screen time, the same amount of discussion points on a debate, the same amount of attention. I think that's great. I think you could be the purple people eaters. That's good too. But in all legitimacy, Ross Perot, back in the day, he ran third party. He was a bazillionaire even. But he ran third party. It seems like to run third party, you gotta have deep pockets. You gotta run your own deal. It's almost like they don't get the same benefits and the same treatment as a Democrat or a Republican.
Right.
But I think that's great. I think why not bring more people to the table?
Yeah. I definitely think a third, more moderate party could definitely provide a much needed perspective to kind of ensure that things get pushed forward a little bit more due to causes, policies, and solutions versus getting votes. So I think that could help in that. Obviously, changing the way we change our current voting system could be great for that as well. There's a lot of voting systems that people don't know that I learned about, talk about on my podcast. They can also help with that. Additionally,
like electoral voting and like by state and how they do it that way versus popular vote, or do you mean something different?
Yeah, more so the aspect of how an individual votes on a ballot could and how that represents the candidate they approve of or vote for. There are systems that differ from the one we have currently, so it's not focused on picking the lesser evil or just picking one candidate, that are a little bit more representative based off their opinions on the candidate and what they represent.
And to know what those are, to know what the judge is in third district. We don't, who the hell really knows? Some people do. But when you get that ballot sheet, it's like, all right, there's this justice, there's this DA. I think I know who to go for senator. Maybe, it's like, I feel like we need more info. I need more info on who I'm voting for, and I don't know if we'll ever get that.
I do think, at that point, it's up to the voter to kind of do their own research on these candidates.
That's a good point.
All over the place.
I should do my own research, as should any voter. That makes sense.
Yeah, usually they put like policies that the person represents on ballots. Any more to be kind of overload. But yeah,
it is overload. Like, there are a lot of people when you get a ballot. Let's be real. It's like there's a lot of people to choose from.
Exactly. So At the very least, one step forward is the ability to vote for multiple candidates. That way, if
Ooh,
you want to vote for a third party candidate, that could be, in addition to a Democrat or Republican, could definitely prove dividends, and that way
so
you're not stuck on only choosing between, hey man, I got to vote for Trump or DeSantis because those are the only ones that are going to win, and that nobody else has a chance to win. So I'm just going to vote for the lesser of two evils. That's the current problem.
but you're saying you can vote for one, maybe the first person you vote for has more weight, and then the second person you vote for has a little less weight, kind of thing.
There's different systems. There's called ranked choice voting, where you can kind of rank the candidates based on.
That's yes, yeah, like kind of ranking it. That's kind of what I meant. Yeah,
That's one
it's hard to
solution.
describe.
There's a lot of other solutions too that are. Some people say a little bit better than that, of course. Um,
Well, we can go back to Roman culture. There's always that.
yeah, I don't think that would be a good idea.
I think that would be terrible as well. Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to look into all of them, obviously you could do your own research to look at these different voting systems. There are organizations out there that can kind of break that down for you, or you can listen to my podcast where I do break it down later on in the episode what these are. They also have an email as well that you can kind of contact them so we can get more states to implement these systems, of course.
That's
I
cool.
don't remember their email right now.
That's great. That's cool. You know, it's interesting. So Ohio. So is Notre Dame in Ohio?
I don't believe so. I think it's in Louisiana. I might be wrong.
No, it's not Louisiana. I think it could be Indiana. I don't know.
It might be. I don't know.
Notre Dame has a really interesting like partnership with the SEC. They're like this independent team, I guess. They kind of have their own rules compared to the other. I'm not huge on college football. I'm trying to learn more about it as I go. I find it fascinating that like there's the SEC and then there's all the other like the Big East, the Big 12. It's like how it works is just kind of blows my mind. But Alabama always wins, so apparently. Oh yeah, go Patriots, fuck the Giants. Anyway, I think we're gonna end it here, Radell, because I'm starving and I don't have any more questions. I think our audience definitely got a plethora of information. We're coming up on an hour right now. If you want to just let people know, how can they find you? How can they find your podcast? What's the best way to tune in?
Of course, if you all want the simple answer, you can go to my website, www.purplepoliticalbreakdown.com, to see all our content, to see all our information. If you want to get a hold of me, of course, you can find that all on my website. If you have a audio directory platform such as Apple Podcast, Spotify, or whatever else you may have, you can find us there. You can listen to us. If you can give a rating, you can rate us 5 stars if you want as well. So a lot of different ways to find our content. We do appreciate it here, and we do appreciate us for the future, of course.
Well, that was interesting.
Hi there. My name is.
Oh, that's the Colorful Companion. See now, what I need to do is I need to get more audio. Just like this one. Because we're chilling, man. We are chilling. I was in Jamaica once as a 4-year-old. Awesome experience. Drank drank glasses. Glass of Coca-Cola. Glasses of Coca-Cola. That's what I'm trying to say. My name's JoeyB. That's Radell. We're going to dance out of here. We hope you have a splendid night. And if you didn't tell someone you love them, definitely do that tonight. Ciao.